the new national party, NNP. Send us a message via text or WhatsApp on 405-8683 with your name, email, and constituency. Stay in the know with NNP. Get updated.
My enemies' walls are bound to crumble, and to the floor their spears will fall. I've been made and sealed with love, but time to battle, I'll fight them all. I felt the whips and remember chains, but my sword has been forged by my father's flames. Fight your fears and heal your pain, and victory will be in your name.
I used to be weak, but I'm not weak no more. I found the strength of my ancestors deep down in my African core. I used to be frightened, I'm not afraid no more. The Father blessed me with the heart of a lion and a warrior soul. So no weapon that form against I shall not prevail, and no man that rise against I, that war they shall never win. 'Cause I will conquer, oh I will conquer, yes I will conquer them. Come on, let's conquer, oh I will conquer, rise up and conquer them. Tell them no retreat, no surrender. I shall fight till the end of days. I was born as a Makai warrior, and the Almighty God my blade. Fire burn all Satan carrier. Father loose all shackles and chain. This morning first thing as I wake up, King David told Sam to the brain. Don't let your courage go down, keep it up. And if your heart rip up and stitch it up, don't let your faith them fall, pick it up. When my cup was empty, God fill it up. Don't take the devil contract, rip it up. And if your bad mind people to go meet it up, pass me the Congo drum and let me beat it up. God on my side, me no give it up. So no weapon that form against I shall not prevail. And no man that rise against I, that war they shall never win. 'Cause I will conquer, oh I will conquer, yes I will conquer them. Come on, let's conquer, oh I will conquer, rise up and conquer them.
Thank you, Father. I want to say thank you, Lord. You are everything, Father. Thank you. Father, you alone shall guide me. No man shall lead my path. In the wind I hear your quiet whispers, and you heal my broken heart. Even some of my friends turn enemies, and they pray for right to feel. And remember to give us your only begotten son, but we gave him the wound of life. Send down your warriors with the hello. We carry down to the end of days. No matter how the devil try trick me, unto you my soul I will give. Father, I know this time is coming. I can see the high tide raise. Without you there is no other. Could it be that we decide?
No weapon that form against I shall not prevail. No man that rise against I, that war they shall never win. 'Cause I will conquer, oh I will conquer, yes I will conquer them. Come on, let's conquer, oh I will conquer, rise up and conquer them.
I am a man. I am a champion. I am a warrior. So who are you to tell me that I cannot make? Who are you to tell me that I am not the greatest thing that God ever created?
Good morning, Grenada, Carriacou, and PT Martinique. You're listening to Hard Talk Grenada. A very special good morning to those of you joining us on 97.5 CitysoundFM, 89.5 CRFM, 92.9 Sister Isle Radio broadcasting from Hillsborough, Carriacou, 91.9 and 91.5 Real FM Radio, and 94.9 We Noise Radio out there in Brooklyn, New York. Good morning to those of you joining us on the live video, wherever you may be, whether it's Facebook, YouTube, Instagram, wherever you may be. Good morning to you. It is a beautiful morning in the Spice Isle of Grenada once again. And with me in studio, of course, I have none other than Mr. Roland Bola. Good morning, Mr. Bola.
Good morning to you, Ms. Duncan. Good morning to all our listeners who are out there, whatever platform you're listening from. I really hope that it has been a fine morning thus far for you, that you would have had a very pleasant and rejuvenating night's sleep. It is so important. It's only recently I have been finding out, Ms. Duncan, that sleep or quality sleep of a sufficient quantity is so important to our health. At a younger age, you felt that, like we sometimes say in local terms, that you can burn the candle at both ends. And when you do so for a prolonged period, it can have a devastating effect on your health. So I really do hope that most of us did have a really peaceful and restful night rest, and that our bodies and our organs have been rejuvenated to face another day in which you would be totally productive and keep a positive mind and a positive outlook on life, irrespective of what is happening to you. Let's keep positivity at the forefront for today.
All right, we'll try our best, Mr. Bola. And it is Tuesday morning. What we'll try to do is we'll try to open the lines this morning. Let people call, share their views, share their opinions. Something that we do need to just reiterate and to talk about as time goes by is the reopening of the airport to the countries that are listed as red zones or high alert, high risk, and medium risk. And that is going to happen very soon, actually. The first is the projected date. And I use the word projected because it's not absolutely certain as yet. With COVID, not everything is absolutely certain because you have to take into consideration we are looking at the other countries and how they are dealing with the virus and how the virus is spreading in their neck of the woods. So we have to take that into consideration when we are making these kinds of decisions. So if the end of July comes and we get a notification that says, well, the airport won't be opening to XYZ country, we shouldn't be surprised. I mean, at this point, we shouldn't be surprised because we have to take into consideration all that is happening around the world to make decisions that are best for Grenada. I know that the Ministry of Health, the minister himself made mention recently that they will be awaiting the results from Trinidad. The 3 individuals, they were expected to do an additional test on Monday, that was yesterday. So they are awaiting those results to determine what the next move will be, how we handle that situation from there.
Well, having touched that, Ms. Duncan, unofficially, and I want to put that in capital letters, unofficially, I've heard that the second test done on those 3 people may have shown a negative. Let us wait until the official word. I'm putting that out there because, I've heard it from a source that could be reliable.
Right.
But I am not the one to make those pronouncements, and I do not know for certain that the level of reliability of the source that I got it from could be taken for granted. So we have to listen to the official announcement from the minister because there will be some minister-to-minister contact, meaning Minister of Health from Grenada, Minister of Health from Trinidad, and of course an official announcement will be made. But why I said it is because so far over 150 persons have been rounded up in the contact tracing. People most likely that these 3 people had been in contact while they were in Grenada, And thus far, all of those have been tested negative. Yes? And that is possible because, as we know it, someone could have suffered from the illness, but residue of the virus can remain in the system for a significantly long time. Different people, they are affected in different ways, as we know it.
Right.
And so what could have created a positive in one of the tests may have just been residual materials from the COVID. And so maybe it's nothing that we should be worried about too much. But of course, we need to continue to keep our guard up, be vigilant, be cautious, and do not take any extra or unnecessary chances. Keep our faces covered as much as we possibly can. The physical distancing still remains something that we all need to adhere to. The washing of hands regularly with soap and water, or the usage of hand sanitizers. All of those things must continue, as though the person standing next to you may be contaminated with the illness, or you probably might have been able to pick up the virus someplace. So we just cannot let our guards down.
Absolutely. So we want to continue to appeal to people, those of you who are looking to come into the island. Tomorrow, I know that there is a scheduled repatriated flight that is leaving JFK at 7 a.m. in the morning. So we want to appeal to the people coming. And I say this off the backdrop of a complaint that was made recently from individuals coming repatriated back to Grenada from the UK. They indicated that they were dissatisfied with the protocol. Now, the reason they're dissatisfied is because they had to pay for their quarantine, and they do not believe that it is cost effective. Now, firstly, this is something that has to be done. It is necessary. And you see, sometimes we don't understand, and things cannot always go our way. Things cannot always go the way that we want it to go, and we cannot look at these situations selfishly. You cannot say, okay, well, I want to go back to Grenada, but I find it must be at a cheaper cost. If that is the going cost, then that is what it is. You know, we have to try and deal with it as best as is possible. And that is why very early, Mr. Bowler, you and I appealed to the people to contact the Ministry of Health. Explain your situation, because these reservations should have been made before coming in. So you must know, okay, this is the price of whatever the quarantine place is. So I have to multiply that by 14 in the event that I need to be quarantined for 14 days. Not being insensitive to the situation. I understand that it is a difficult thing to have to pay that sum of money for that period of time. And that's why we said every individual situation is never the same. It's an individual situation. You may be able to pay for it, somebody else may not. And that is why communication is important. And communication doesn't mean after the fact you jump on social media and you start complaining about it, because it has already happened. Communication simply is ensuring that you have communicated all of your difficulties beforehand so that they can be addressed, so that we can avoid these kind of problems, you know, making it seem as if people are being forced to do something that they don't want to do. When these are the protocols, that's what it is. And it is meant to safeguard the entire population of Grenada, not just a select few. You know, and we have to understand and appreciate that. Mr. Bolo, what do you think?
I think you are correct. You are on the right line. As a matter of fact, I think the advice from the Ministry of Health and the COVID-19 team is that you study what the protocols are, know all the facts even before you book a flight. Yes, that's the advice given. I think that's the kind of advice that will be given from any one of the consulate or ambassador's office or whoever it is in your country, where you can seek information on the protocols. The issue of people having to foot the cost for their time spent, if they have to, in quarantine, is something that was made clear, absolutely clear. Even in London, even at the time when they were receiving back into the island cruise ship workers, like we have done here in Grenada,
Yeah.
when they were repatriating the cruise ship workers, they had to contribute £1,000, if my memory serves me right, towards the quarantine. So this is not a thing that is isolated to Grenada. It is not something that only Grenada as a country is doing. Most countries around the world recognize that it is really a costly activity to quarantine people for 14 days to ensure that they have no possibility of infecting others when they come from a country that has still has very strong amounts of COVID patients.
Yeah.
And so that was made absolutely clear in the protocols by the Ministry of Health that if you are coming, you must be prepared not only to pay for your quarantine, but also to pay for your PCR test.
Yes.
If it becomes necessary. There are some people that may never have to do a PCR test because, one, they may come in with a authenticated, and I want to make sure that I say that first, authenticated certificate, which proves that within 7 days before they have traveled, they did a test that turned out negative. Mm-hmm. They would immediately do the rapid test when you arrive at the airport. And if that too shows up negative, I think there's a different way in which you will be treated to someone who comes in with a positive. Not from the red zone.
Right. It depends on which zone you're coming
not
from.
The red zone,
because if you are coming from a red zone, and I want to make this absolutely clear so people don't come with expectations that will not be met. If you're coming from a red zone, let's say you're coming from the United States, you're coming from Portugal, you're coming from one of those Eastern European countries, these protocols are what applies to you. You're going to present your health form, a negative PCR test result, and proof that you've downloaded the app, right? Now, if you test negative on the rapid test, you will still be required to spend 14 days in an approved government facility. So regardless of if you're negative, you're positive, whatever your test says, that is I don't want to use the word irrelevant, but I mean, for lack of a better word, that's what it is. It is irrelevant because you will still be required to test for to quarantine for 14 days. Now, providing the health form and doing the rapid test. Some people may say, well, what is the point we doing all of that if we still have to quarantine for 14 days? Remember, when you come from the plane, wherever you're coming from, or even before you get onto the plane, you are still interacting with people, right? You come onto the plane, you're not going to be automatically teleported to your hotel room to quarantine for 14 days. You must interact with people. And for that reason, we must know what your status is at that time, right? And then we might say, okay, well, I tested negative. Why can't I go? Because as we know, things do change. The virus moves in a very specific way. And it's very fluid also. It can change at any time. We can't take that kind of chance with the population of Grenada, right? And I would agree to nothing less, to be honest. I would agree to nothing less. Now, similarly for people coming from the medium zones, which is places like Canada and the UK and so on, you are still required to present your health form, your negative PCR test, and your proof of app download. Now, if you test negative on the rapid test, right, you are free to stay in Grenada. However, you are restricted to limited movement. All right? So it's not that you're going to come and you don't have to quarantine for 14 days at a government facility, but you still have to quarantine. You still are limited in your movement for the next 14 days. And that is why we say to individuals, if you plan to come on vacation, make sure that your vacation is longer than 14 days.
Yes.
Right?
If you cannot afford a vacation of more than 14 days, probably it's best for you that you don't come at all. And it is not because we don't want you in Grenada. We wish so many more of you can come.
Yeah.
Come and visit, come and enjoy the beach, come and enjoy the sunlight, the good fresh fruits and vegetables that we have, eat good food that is produced here in Grenada. However, though, for the safety of yourself, your family, and the Grenadian population, the authorities or the powers that be must take certain precautionary measures.
Yeah.
And so for your entry into Grenada, there are certain protocols that you must follow, you must go through, you must adhere to. Yes? So if it means that you're coming from one of the high risk or medium risk countries and you doesn't afford, you don't have the time from your job doesn't give you enough to spend more than 14 days, it's probably best to cancel that vacation until a later date when either one or two things may happen. When COVID may not be such a threat anymore, so there may be no need for the stringent protocol measures, or you have a lot more time. Instead of 10, 12 or 14 days for vacation, you can then spend a month. So if it means that you have to be quarantined for 14 days, you still have another 14, 15 or 18 days in which you can spend time with friends and family. But Mr. Duncan, let me just insert here, because we are speaking mainly now to the people who want to come in.
Yeah.
The people who are coming from jurisdictions where the COVID is still very prevalent. I think we also need to sound a word of caution to the locals, the people who are here, because sometimes we get very excited, and maybe we should. A family member who has been away, we had not seen them in the last 5 years, 10 years, 15 years.
Yeah.
They haven't been to Grenada. We become very excited and we're happy to have them, and So even if these people come and they are cleared, they are negative, we need to understand that we must also
apply caution. Yep.
apply caution. We must have a certain level of discipline, because they are coming from areas where the disease and the illness, the virus is still very, very, very prevalent, that the mass amount of people are still infected. And so we just cannot take too much chances. I'm not saying to shun them. I'm not saying to scorn them. I'm not saying to run away and hide when you see them. They're family, most of them. They're people whom we'd like to come here. They're Grenadians, first and foremost, who probably have been residing, have permanent residence in some of those places. We just need to be cautious and not let our guards down. That's the point I want to make.
Absolutely, Mr. Paul, and you're right. For some reason, we get excited. You're correct. We do. A family member comes back, they come back, they're safe, they tested negative, and you're so excited to see them, that we let our guard down. But I do agree that we should appeal to the people, let them know that it's important, with all the excitement, that we use due caution. Still maintain your 14 days, even if you don't have to, even if you feel like it's not necessary, but taking into consideration the lives of the people that surround you, the family members that you're here to visit or that you are here to stay with, take them into consideration. And for the next 14 days, limit the movement. I remember when my brother came back from Russia, Mr. Bola, right before the borders closed. And I wanted to see him. I haven't seen him in 5 years. When he left here, my kids were, a lot smaller than they are now. And they haven't seen him in so long. They've spoken to him over the phone, and I was so excited. I was so happy. I wanted to see him, And I mean, it really did hurt me to have to stay away for so long, for 14 days, But I had to make that sacrifice, because I have to take into consideration the well-being of myself and my family first. Because it wouldn't make sense that he comes, I'm so excited to see him, and then 7 days later I have X because I get COVID. So me and he ain't talking at all because he gave me COVID. You understand? So we have to take that into consideration. We have to be mindful of those factors when we have families that are visiting. I'm hoping that sometime during this week, Mr. Bola, that we can get the Minister of Tourism to come in, because very soon the conversation on measures that we will start implementing for tourists to come back to the island will become a conversation. Whether it will be that the hotel...
I cannot now quote him word for word, but from what he said, in short, suggested that people should drink some of those things. If you have the virus and you drink a little disinfectant or some bleach or something, you should be okay. You know, if they said it couldn't survive, and that's in the very early days.
Yeah.
You know, so impractical from the way in which he was thinking, and this issue about we are having more because we are testing more. In fact, CNN did an exclusive report to show that testing in the U.S. is below par compared to so many other countries. In fact, at this present time, it is our understanding from what the reports are saying that some people, even if they are prepared to pay for a test, may not even be able to get it in the United States.
All right, we have a caller on the line, and for those of the of you listening online, it seems like we had some technical difficulties, so we'll get right back into it. Hello, good morning.
Good morning.
Hi, good morning.
Morning, sir.
Good morning. Are you hearing me?
Yes, we're hearing you.
Okay. I was listening to your program. The song was very interested. But I was listening to a comment you was making regarding your brother and all of that, right? You don't want to you're staying away from him and everything. But social distance means just staying 6 feet away and wearing your mask and all of that. That's what the social distance means. You don't have to isolate yourself because of your brother come and you don't want to see him at all because you're afraid. Social distance means staying 6 feet apart, wearing your mask. That's what the social distance is all about.
Well, not necessarily. Not necessarily.
Because I think you're misleading the public when you're saying isolating yourself. No, social distance. This is stay social distance, 6 feet apart, wear your mask. That's what is social distance, 6 feet apart.
Okay, all right. Thank you for your comment, caller. I don't. I think the caller misunderstood what we were saying. We're not saying to isolate yourself from people around you. What I'm saying is, my brother came from Russia. He passed through the UK. With due care and attention given to the situation, I found it necessary, right? I would want to go and give him a hug. He's my brother. You understand? I haven't seen him in 5 years. But given the circumstances, where he's coming from, and the situation, over there, it was necessary for me to isolate myself from him. Or him to isolate himself from us.
Maybe you should not use the word isolate. I think that's what the caller is getting at. You kept your distance, you didn't hug him up and love him up, which is what we were talking about when friends and relatives, we are happy to see them, so we want to brace them, we want to squeeze them, we want to be up in their face, so they want to be up in our faces. And we were just kind of advising, especially for those who are coming from red zones, places where the illness is still very, very prevalent, that we should be cautious.
Absolutely.
So maybe isolate is too strong a word. When we use it in explaining, people may think, well, run and hide, don't look at them. What we're simply saying is,
be cautious.
Be cautious, don't let our guards down. Continue to wear our masks. And as the caller so correctly said, keep our social distancing until probably 14 days has passed and we recognize that they did not exhibit any symptoms, and so then we probably would want to socialize a bit closer with them. Yeah. So, caller, we accept that. We acknowledge that probably isolate was not the correct word to use in that instance, but we didn't mean run away and hide.
Mr. Bolo, we have to take a very short break because it seems like we're having a bit of difficulty with the live stream. So, guys, we're going to take a very, very short break. I promise it's going to be very short. And then we'll be back with some more information for you.
Like the rest of the Caribbean and communities all around the world, is facing an unprecedented challenge with managing the impact of the COVID-19 pandemic. We are thankful for the support of Grenadians and friends of Grenada, both here and abroad, who have come together to offer prayers, support with supplies, volunteer their time and expertise, and give donations. Many of you continue to reach out, asking how you can help. in response to your request. And to further streamline our procurement process of personal protective equipment and other supplies, the Government of Grenada has developed the COVID-19 Response Support Fund. The fund gives Grenadians, friends of Grenada, and organizations the opportunity to support and partner with us through donations in the fight against COVID-19. If you are in Grenada, funds can be donated at the Grenada Cooperative Bank at account number 413-000-849. For further details and donation options when contributing from outside of Grenada, please visit our website covid19.gov.gd/donate.
The following is a public service announcement on the opening of the plant distribution season. The Ministry of Agriculture and Lands wishes to inform the general public of the change of date for the opening of the 2020 plant distribution season. The season will be declared open on Tuesday, 14th July at the Marable Propagation Station, St. Andrew. Please note that the sale of plants will commence on Thursday, 16th July at the following propagation stations: Marable Propagation Station, St. Andrew, Bulong Propagation Station, St. Andrew, Moran Propagation Station, St. John, and Ashenden Propagation Station, St. David. The Ministry apologizes for any inconvenience caused. Ministry of Agriculture, ensuring food and nutrition security for all.
All right, guys, and we are back. For those of you who've been listening online, you can... I believe the YouTube stream is still up. I'm just checking that for you real quick. Yes, the YouTube stream is still up and running. So I would advise that you switch over to YouTube for those of you who normally watch us on Facebook. All right, I'm going to post the link to the page so that you guys can join us there. But Mr. Bola, back to the conversation that we were having before. It is very important for us to use wisdom, especially now in this time. You know, now in this time, it is important for us to use wisdom because we just can't be too certain. You can't be too certain, you can't be too safe, you know, and we have to use wisdom in this time. So, you're right, maybe isolation was too harsh a word in that situation, but you do have to take it one step at a time. With all the excitement and everything that is happening, still, take it one step at a time, because we need to ensure that, or limit whatever mistake that may happen. You know, no plan is perfect. No plan is foolproof. We may have a plan that works in the current situation, but if the situation changes even a little bit, it may throw the plan off. So we have to leave room for these kinds of things. All right? Mr. Bola, I want us to take a little time to talk about that issue in Mount Rodney, I believe is the name of the place. That is in... St. Patrick's.
Yes, actually in St. Patrick's
West, Mr. Bosen's constituency. Yeah. With the issue now that they're having with the reclamation of land, the sea is you know, infringing on the properties there, and so on. And I know that the government of Grenada puts out a weekly newsletter. You know, it's posted on Facebook, it's posted on WhatsApp and so on, and in that weekly review, it was noted that the minister and a team visited the site, the area, and that they spoke with the residents there. Some of the residents did agree to occupying space in the housing project. That is in St. Patrick as well. But others, I must say, indicated that they would prefer assistance in relocating and rebuilding on private lands. What are your thoughts on that?
Well, first, I must say that is not a new development. In fact, probably as much as 3 years ago, the government did take a decision, quite correctly so, and started what is referred to as a breakwater project. In fact, what is happening in the Mount Rodney area now, and for a while now, to a certain extent has been happening to the lower, what is referred to as the low tongue or downtown Sates, the lower part of Sates. If for people who understand and knows the area, I'm talking now that area from just the back of Lippers Hill, where the Catholic church is. There's a huge rock there, so not a lot of people may notice the erosion, but from the back of that hill, leading right down to Mount Rodney. And so government has done a significant amount of work using a local contractor to put up that kind of sea defense, a protective wall made of stones to limit or to slow the velocity of the waves, the strength at which when a wave is coming in and it hits the shore, and when it's running back, it will take with it soil and sand and so. So with those boulders being placed a certain distance within the sea, the waves will crash against it.
Right.
And so the water that comes over or through those boulders will be much more gentle. In fact, that has created now a nice portion of beach in Low Tongue Sates, or Downtown Sates as it's commonly called. A place where people feared at one time. They now have picnics and so. There's a lot of sand that has come back, and there's beachfront. Now, there is an intent, as far as I know, by government to continue with that. And some geological studies was done. There was a marine expert, a marine engineer, I think out of Barbados, if I'm not mistaken, that came in some time ago and did some surveys and did some testing, and a report was presented, or had to be presented, I think by now should have, to government. And there's an intent. I've heard both the Prime Minister and the Minister for Infrastructural Development has made pronouncements on the desire and willingness of government to continue. But moving to the residents, the parliamentary representative, the Honorable Anthony Boswin, for that area, along, I think, with officials from the Ministry of Social Development and Housing, in the past has visited. And some of the houses that are now being constructed by the Chinese in the St. Patrick's area, I think they refer to that area as the Villa. Is that's the Villa, or in St. No, I think they are called the Villa. That's the area where the houses are being built. Was asked, I think the parliamentary representative for St. Patrick's East was already also present at the first visit. And there are residents along that beach coast who property and livelihood is being threatened, probably their lives as well, because in times when the tides are up, the water encroaches, and probably in some of the lower level houses that are closer to the sea, the water probably gets as close up alongside the houses as possible.
Right.
And it is believed that within time they have lost quite a few coconut trees on that beach down there, and so. And there's a belief by the people that gradually the water may wash away or erode the entire foundation, and some of them may lose their houses. So they have already agreed, even before this last visit. So kudos to the minister for going back to reassure the people. Some who had private lands elsewhere indicated then that, look, we have property outside of where we live here. Now, if government can provide us with some assistance for building some of the materials, we will prefer, rather than going and taking up an apartment at these housing places, we can build on our own. And I think those things are being ironed out.
Right.
I don't know how soon, but as far as I learned, that the houses at the Villa in Sates are in a very advanced stage of completion.
Yeah.
And I would really hope as soon as they're ready and distribution starts, that preference will be given to these people. I mean, there may be other people with different circumstances that also are in dire need and hard pressed and needs to. But so maybe the word preference is not correct, but some level of urgency, I probably should use, will be given to having these people relocated. And for those whose preference is to go to their own private lot, that whatever necessary assistance they need will become available for them.
Mr. Bowler, the question I want to ask in this situation is, because I've been hearing, following, listening, the other political party, they say that's the correct term to use, so I'm just using the correct term because we have an opposition. So the other political party has been very vocal in terms of what is happening in that area. A lot of misinformation has been provided. What I want you to clarify, and I'm not sure if you are able to provide that information, and if you are, then great, but has the geological study been done to prove that it is the actual breakwater project that has caused this erosion in that area?
Absolutely not. I don't think it has proven that. If for anything, it may have intensified, if I can say that. Because what you now have is, because the barrier has been created further up, the volume of water that went directly onshore in Lotong Sates, some of that may now be diverted a little lower down where there is no barrier. Because water will go wherever it gets the easiest route for escape. Right? I mean, you already have to build serious walls to prevent water from moving, to dam it. Once water can move, any direction where it can flow easily, that's where it will go. It's just the natural thing about water. But a lot of what is happening has to do and is credited to the issue of climate change.
Right.
And the fact that we were told for many years now, when the whole issue of global warming and climate change came around, that there would be rising sea levels, that the glaciers and so, the icy areas have been melting much more rapid than before. There's a lot more runoff water that gets into the oceans as well. Because as we develop and we continue to construct more buildings and bigger buildings and so, it reduces the ability of the earth to soaking more water or to accept more water, because for every square inch of land that becomes concrete, that water cannot go down into the soil. It has to run off some way. And for most of, especially these small islands, where do our runoff water go?
Into the sea.
Into the sea. So as the years go by, with the effects of climate change and more runoff water ending up into the sea, the level of the seawater rises and stronger currents, because we also have a depletion in our coral reefs.
Yeah.
And for those of us who understand it, the reefs are there as a protective barrier as well. So way out there where we have coral reefs, outside of there being grounds and nurseries for mammal marine life to procreate and reproduce. They also act as barriers. So when heavy currents are pushing towards shore, if you have good, thick, well-developed coral reefs, they will help to hold back some of that force. And again, from our online activities, the research has shown that we have been able to damage a lot of our coral reefs through coral bleaching by heat, and a lot of the chemicals that run off into the so we wash in our sinks and our washing machines, or even in the rivers and other streams, and the harsh chemicals that we use, eventually they end up, the dumping, that we do without understanding the negative effects it has, they all end up into the oceans, and the oceans bare and clogged and kill. The fertilizers and chemicals that we use in our gardens, with leaching and leakage, getting into streams and rivers, and so that ends up in the sea, cause algae and seabed grass and things to grow much more rapidly, and they choke and kill our coral reefs. So the natural barrier that the sea was created with to help protect our shores are no longer there. So there's a lot of other issues that one has to dig deeper into. So it's not just about the breakwater project in Low Tongue Sotes that has caused. It may have contributed a bit, like I said, because when the breakwater wasn't there, those waves was able to wash right up outside, even hitting against some of the buildings that were pretty close to the sea. So now that first portion has been cordoned off, some of that water would naturally flow down to the area where there's no barrier. But as you continue to work on the breakwater, and you bring in more boulders and you go further down to Mount Rodney, it again will take care of that problem. So it is not new, naturally, because even studies have shown that if there is a 2-meter rise in sea level, places like the Carriacou or international airport and all those areas will be flooded. Yeah. Because Grenville Tongue, because Grenada generally in the low-lying areas closer to the beachfront, most places are under sea level or very close to the level of the sea. So it means that once there is a rise in the water, it will wash into the land. So we have been cautioned in Grenada from studies done that all of St. George's could soon flood if the seawater levels continue to rise, that our international airport could be compromised because the water will run right onto the runway. So the studies have been done. That is why this government, because of its care and concern for people, for livelihood, and for country, has been working feverishly with institutions and, of course, the government of the People's Republic of China. And some funding through the Green Climate Fund may be coming sooner than later to help protect the tongue of St. George and make it the first climate resilient. I don't know if you have heard that being said before. We are destined to have the first climate resilient capital or tongue in the entire sub-region, where whatever it is they will be doing, whether they will be doing sea defense walls, or I'm not sure what the work will entail, but the project has been written up and has been lodged with the Green Climate Fund. That is where NAWASA is sourced, has sourced through the Green Climate Fund, through the Ministry of Environment, over $100 million for significant work to be done in terms of replacement of pipe, greater storage facility, and improvement in the whole operations of NAWASA. Something that should have been rolled out just around the time when COVID had put us on the lockdown. So again, we probably need to have some kind of conversation with NAWASA to hear how soon they're going to roll off that project. But it's a huge project that will transform the water sector in Grenada totally. So too, they're expecting that funds that will make St. George's Town the first climate smart, climate resilient capital in the world. So Mount Rodney is not left out. The government has constantly expressed their concern and has shown that they are prepared to tackle this problem head on and to deal with it in the best way that they possibly can, and to ensure that the residents of that area is being brought and placed in some sort of safety, And pretty soon, I believe the project, the housing project, will be ready, and people will be able to go in there and feel safe once again.
I believe it's October they're looking at the projected time for delivery, October of this year. And that would be good because there are quite a number of people who are waiting for that to become available so that they can feel some sort of ease, in their living conditions and so on. Now, Mr. Paula, what I want to also find out, so the people who are situated in this area, this beachfront area, that land, is it land that is owned by them or is it land that is being squatted on? Because I mean, it doesn't make the situation any better.
Yes.
It doesn't make the situation any better. But I want us to, because from what we've been hearing, that these people, these are their lands, and that government has destroyed their lands as a result of building this wall or the breakwater project and so on. Not also taking into consideration that the existing buildings higher up were being affected in a similar way as well, as a result of erosion and so on by the water. So that was ideally meant to protect that strip along that beachfront that was being damaged as a result of the water. But has it been identified that these are lands belonging to these people, or is it lands that have been squatted on, or what really is the situation surrounding that whole issue?
Well, first let me say, there's a lot of us who consider the word squatting to be a little bit derogatory. Okay. We prefer to say illegally occupied.
Well, I don't know which one some was.
Illegally occupied. Well, that is what was raised with me outside of this program.
Okay.
That squatting, the man is a squatter, she's a squatter. It sounds very derogatory, maybe to the ears of some people. But I am not absolutely sure. I want to lean on the side that it may be lands that are legally owned by the people who are occupying. Mm-hmm. Or handed down from generations.
Okay.
That's what I want to believe. I have never sought to get the information, and I don't think that is too difficult to find out. Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. Through the Ministry of Agriculture, the Lands Division, they should be able to tell us whether or not if the lands there in Mount Rodney are government owned and are being illegally occupied or occupied without authorization, or probably occupied with authorization, because there are a number of factors. It could be government and it's occupied with some level of authorization. People were given the permission to live there. I am not sure as to the tenancy of the property. What I believe is most important to note is that government is committed to continue with the project to ensure that there's protection and security for all those lands down there. What has been done thus far has cost government quite a few $1 million. And it was all locally funded. There was no project, there was no grant money, There was no loan taken. It was all locally funded with a local contractor. And a contractor whom I spoke to a couple of months ago, and he also indicated that there is an intent for a continuation, that it's just a matter of time, and then once the monies become available. And they were also awaiting that study, which I spoke about, and I think the study is complete now. But whichever way it goes, whether privately owned or authorized or unauthorized occupation, whatever it fits under, I believe you just want to get that information out. But it doesn't change the fact that there is need.
There is need, yeah.
For some level of protection and to ensure and to guarantee the people that lives there that government is looking after them. And from the efforts of the parliamentary rep, the regular visits, the communication, the contact, I want to believe that the people of that area feels fairly and satisfied that they will be protected, that the government is looking into their needs, and they understand that it's just a matter of time. As soon as those houses are completed, that those who has indicated they intend to move will be given an opportunity to vacate the area into a safer and more secure environment. And for those who whose preference is to go to their private property, that attempts are being made to provide for them, if not all, some of the building materials to assist them to relocate. And I think that is what the crux of the matters are, that government is in this thing with the people.
And I want us to also make mention, because over the past few weeks I've been hearing and I've been listening, my ears have been on the ground as it relates to the Mount Rodney issue. And I've been hearing a lot of chatter from other individuals talking about government has abandoned these people and they don't feel safe and so on. Now that these arrangements are being made and have been made for these people, I am now hoping that we would hear a different tune, and not just a tune that says congratulations to government, because government doesn't need congratulations in this situation. What needs to happen now is the tune of how can we help? Because, sometimes it's very easy for us to point fingers and cast blame and say, okay, well, government isn't doing what they're supposed to do, and let's point a finger and then say what we need to say. But we tend to not offer our assistance in the process, So I would hope that, somebody would say, okay, well, as an institution or as a political party, we would like to offer our assistance. How can we help? Can we come and help put up part of the building that you are planning to put up on your private land? Can we assist in the purchasing of some material? How can we assist you? And that is a tune that we should echo from now, because it's very easy to criticize. It's not as easy to offer assistance or to put yourself in that sort of position to assist somebody that is in need, So we have to be very mindful of that.
Well, Ms. Duncan, we have seen it time and time again happening here in Grenada. We know what the other political party is good at doing. They have done it before. It's a well-known and established fact that all they are good at is criticizing, never proposing, or even when they propose things that are almost impossible, and what they themselves will not even be able to achieve. So it's a long shot to hope that they will get on board and decide that they're going to assist in some way. That will be a fuss, and it will be good if they can. But I think by now the Grenadian public has come to the realization that these guys go out there and search for every single negative. And I am not at all hoping that they will stop identifying whatever the shortcomings of government are.
It actually helps.
It helps because they should, yes? But sometimes they do it partially, not getting all the facts, not getting all of the information, not being totally honest and truthful
and with
the
wrong
people.
Reasons at heart as well.
Sometimes, yes.
Let's take this call. Good morning.
Good morning, Ms. Duncan.
Hi, good morning.
Good morning, Mr. Bowler.
Good morning to you, sir.
Mr. Bowler, coming from your advantage point, right?
Yes, sir.
Your location, sir. Now, it is my personal opinion, and having looked at things over the years, right, that we need a comprehensive study from the northern side, you can see from St. Patrick, right on to Hope in St. Andrew. I've been on the Hope Beach many times, and if you look at the erosion that is now taking place on that beach, there is no breakwater there to create what is happening in Hope. And you come down to the telescope, even in Pearls, right at the back of the airport, you can see the seriousness of the land erosion that is taking place in that area. For instance, that the road coming from the back road coming into the seaside that you could take you into Paul's into the airport, that it has actually washed away. It's actually impossible now for motorists as we normally surpass in that area. So the rising of the sea, we have been having this climate change for quite a while, but I do not think that the scientific reports or what is happening was really done. Because, for instance, in the early systems of Ebola, do you know that there's a sea defense wall in Marquis?
Yeah, Marquis, let me look at. Yes, there was there. Yes, some of it is eroded.
There is a sea defense wall in Marquis, but you are not going to see that wall now.
Yeah,
because
some of it
the whole
is
thing
eroded.
is covered up now with sand.
Yeah.
Even the craft center is on part of that sea defense wall. I'm saying this to say that as early as the 60s, when the people in Marquis was under threat, the government of Grenada did put a sea defense wall in that Marquis area. So that northeastern coast, there has to be some study. And, I mean, it's a massive project for a small country like ours, So we must not beat up on one particular situation, but we must look at the changing tides and the changes that we are now engulfed with. And if you followed Algo, and Algo was one of our presidential candidates who was very passionate, and he had the scientific data as to what was happening in our various territories, and then we must commend this government for the proactive approach. You see, sometimes we are very reactive, but no, we are taking a proactive approach. A ministry is now set up to deal with climate change, and that must be a step in the right direction.
Yeah.
And I want to commend the government for identifying the problem and to at least establish a ministry specifically to deal with that problem. Thank you.
Well, thank you. Well said. What he has, the caller there has expressed is actually very truthful. That whole northeastern coast seemed to be more heavily battered than the western. In fact, we know that the western side of the island has much calmer waters and so. But some studies, from my knowledge, has been done, maybe not extensively, as not as extensive as it should be, but some work has been done from fisheries and from other areas. Some work has been done.
We have another call on the line.
Good morning.
Hi, good morning.
Yeah, Miss Duncan, Miss Wall.
Yes, sir.
I was just speaking about the Montserrani and so the situation there. That's the area, that's where I'm from. And since as a young boy going to school, that problem there, when the sea got rough, water used to come all in the road. And even they have a shortcut where we could have passed to go down to Four Pasture. When the sea rough, people that live in Montserrani, they have to make the whole rounds to go down to Montserrani. And if we had to pass there, there's a shortcut. So that problem was there long. And I see if the government come with a program, have a program plan to bring the development, as there with the Breakwater project, with something good. I do believe the opposition party or the who are opposing that, they should be come on board with the government, because the time overdue for there to be the seat and the tongue of Sotez to be protected from the sea. Because only right in back, the River Canal has seen a place, all in the fish market, where the fish market was there or before. What has to come all through there? Right? Because it was not safe for people to pass the when it's off. So the government come with a project to bring development to the area. I do with the people should side with the government, because the development for all. And then there's some people, when they live in the area for long, they don't want to move. But sometimes the move will be good for the betterment, not only for the people in the area. So I want to say to the opposing force, let us come together and for the building and the betterment of the people of St. Patrick West.
All right.
Ms. Duncan, have a one for the government.
You too. Thank you so much for your contribution. I wouldn't say that people have to agree. It is in their right whether they agree or they disagree. But we must, at some point, as Grenadians, look beyond the politics and look at what this thing or whatever the proposal is, what difference it's going to make for our people. We have another caller on the line. Good morning.
Yeah, good morning, Duncan.
Hi, good morning.
Morning, Sabola. Yeah, going on. Yeah, long can hear the historian. Long can hear your voice. But come not opening the country and thing. I don't find if you discriminate about any country, because I remember when the virus was raging in the earlier time, everybody was looking towards China. Every region expect it to come from China. It didn't come away from China. And it's a world disease. So I feel if you open up, they shouldn't discriminate against one set of country and say, well, hoping that the red zone and what kind of zone. Because our zone red forward is hard to see. You open up, all you have to do is just follow protocol and precaution. It's something I observed to on GBN radio. Every time I want to get the news and I realize they change the system in the news. And there was something on the constitutional reform program there. And what amazed me, the same people who say yes to colonialism, I see them coming and talking about constitutional reform. I find you have too much hypocrisy in here, you know. What is it? You just say yes to colonialism during the time of the referendum. We put it to the test and say let's try to reform and let's try to make a start to change. You say no to that. You say yes to colonialism. Let's stick to colonialism. And today you're talking about the reform. I find the women must review that and you can see the people say yes to colonialism. Don't hold one program because they are a group of hypocrites, man. Take care of people. All
right. Thank you so much for your contribution, caller. Guys, remember the lines are open. The number to call is 440-7377 if you want to contribute to the conversation. If you are in the diaspora and you want to contribute as well, you can call us at 347-329-3101. I would encourage all of you to subscribe to our YouTube channel. Just in the event Facebook gives a little trouble, you can still join us live on social media to follow the show, right? So please, those of you who have not yet subscribed to us on YouTube, it's Hard Talk Grenada live on YouTube, and you can subscribe to us there so you can follow us live. People are entitled to their own opinions, and that is a fact. However, I do want to encourage you that even though you're entitled to your opinion, always ensure that when you make those opinions, it's based on fact, that you have looked at all sides of the situation and that you make your decision or you come to a conclusion based on those facts. I just want to share with you guys a quick weather update. And it reads, residents of Trinidad and Tobago, Grenada, Barbados, St. Vincent and the Grenadines, and St. Lucia should continue to monitor the progress of this developing system. At 8 o'clock this morning, an area of disturbed weather over the central Atlantic continues to show signs of organization. Showers and thunderstorms have become better organized in association with a low pressure system located about midway between the west coast of Africa and the Lesser Antilles. Environmental conditions are expected to be somewhat conducive for development, and a tropical depression could form during the next day or two, while the low moves westward at about 10 miles over the tropical Atlantic. By the weekend, however, less favorable conditions should limit additional development. So I want you to take note of that. We have another caller on the line. Good morning, caller.
Good morning, my dear. How are you?
Hi, good morning. I'm fine.
Right. I am calling in connection with yesterday's program. Yesterday when you and Mr. Bowler had a little chat about wine. And I believe that it's very important that I call and make the correction because it's a little bit embarrassing, the variations in the spelling of wind. And it's WIND, meaning to go around and around.
Right.
It's the same way you do with your waist to wind up the thread on a baller. Now, if you listen to the song, She is Royal, you will hear the man saying, wind and dine. Yeah? Now, there is a book that is very interesting, a Creole dictionary put together by the Ministry of Education in St. Lucia, which can help us a lot in our words, in our everyday words that we use, yes? Okay, so it's WIND, which means to dance around and around with the waist part, yeah?
I want to, before you go, I want to pick your brain just a little bit, huh? Because funny enough, that topic, Creole and its validity in society, in our society, and how we use it in comparison with standard English, is actually one of the courses that I'm doing in my degree. So I'm picking your brain live, right? Can you tell me that dictionary that you're referring to from St. Lucia? Because I know our Creole and St. Lucia's Creole is very, very similar. The only difference that we have is that Creole actually use St. Lucia actually uses their Creole. We kind of put it on the back burner, refer to it as bad English in schools and so on. But they actually use their Creole. Can you tell me the name of that dictionary?
Yes. The name is, and they're not even spelling it like how you probably would spell it. It's KWE with an accent, YO with another accent, L. Creole Dictionary. And it was put together by the Ministry of Education, Human Resource Development, and Youth and Sports in St. Lucia.
All right.
Yeah?
Thank you so much for that bit of education there.
Yes, because you see, wind, when we see the variation, sometimes you see the song that dog would make for wind your waist. You see WHINE, all kind of, stupidness. And it could be embarrassing. and the children will say, wind up the thread.
Yep.
Meaning to bring it round and around on the baller.
Yeah.
Okay. Thank you for your time.
Well, let me thank you too, because interestingly, when I made the comment, we were just doing it jokingly.
I know.
When she said, well, we winding down, and I said,
yes, and
stop
it's the
using
same thing.
Yes.
It is the same word.
Yes.
Because when we on the air, we go international, eh?
Yes.
Right, so we want to have a little higher standard.
Definitely.
Okay, have a good day.
Thank you for that again, and you have a blessed one yourself.
Okay, bye-bye.
All right. Yeah, Mr. Bola, interestingly enough, that is a conversation that I have been having for the past, how long have I been in school for this summer? 6 weeks now? 6 weeks now with my colleagues in trying to find out more about our Creole in Grenada, because, we don't really acknowledge it that much, and for that, and don't use it. And for that reason, I think it's safe to say that it's very much dying.
There was a little group of people around that was trying to revive it. I think one of the persons, as far as I can remember, if she wasn't the president or something, is Dr. What's her name? She's a gynecologist that attends she has an office just over in Old Trafford.
Dr. Joseph.
Dr. Joseph was part of that. So maybe she can be a good person whom you can have a conversation with that can give you some more details. But at one time there was an attempt to sort of revive. There was a little clubs being developed at the primary school level. I'm not sure if they did it at secondary school as well, where they were trying to encourage most children to learn
to use it.
And to use
I remember a few years ago, the Ministry of Education had a workshop. At that time, I was actively teaching, and they had a workshop with a few teachers from different schools around the island. And the purpose of the workshop was to assist us in increasing the literacy capabilities among our students. And in doing that, we should accept, appreciate, and incorporate the use of Creole in the classroom, and use that as the foundation from which we teach standard English, because we use standard English in professional settings and all of that. But the Creole is what the children know. It's what they're comfortable with. It's what they speak. We generally push it off as, well, a child talking bad, so, not giving them an understanding of what the Creole is and showing them that there is a connection and that is a language, It's not just them saying all kind of thing that is bad English. It's also a language. But that's a different conversation for a different day. We have a call on the line. Good morning.
Yeah, Ms. Duncan. Yeah, they call back to let you know something. The people in St. Patrick West, they say about 2 months now they don't get in the HARDTALK. They don't get it on YouTube, they don't get it on Facebook, and they don't get it in radio.
And St. Patrick's West.
Yeah.
But now they can tune to 91.9, 91.5. That's Real FM. Yes, it's coming live now on Real FM.
On 91.9
and 91.5.
I think in St. Patrick's West they should be able to get it on 91.9. I think 91.5 should be lower down the St. George's area. But Real FM, they tune Real FM, they should get it live now. Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
All right, thank you. Yes, Mr. Bola. So that's a different conversation.
For a different time, yes.
For a different time.
I don't know what the next thing in line you have, but I just wanted us to just for the purposes of wanting to, or at least for me, wanting to empathize. Yesterday there was that fatal accident in somewhere in the St. David side. I'm not sure exactly the exact.
They said it's after the gas station in Wester Hall.
It's around the Wester Hall area. That's what I heard. And instantly there were 3 deaths and a lot of other injured people. Just from the family, to the NNP family, we want to express our condolences to the family of those who had lost anyone in that accident, but also to empathize with everyone else who have been affected in some negative way. The other not occupants but passengers on the bus, and to say hats off. I did hear someone on a different program this morning expressing their thanks to the medical staff at the hospital, the nurses and the doctors and all of the workers who were there. They said the person expressed that they acted very professional and they felt comfortable with the way in which they dealt with and treated the patients. And this only goes to show that our people are always willing to be of service to the comrades and the colleagues, and that the level of professionalism within the service is growing, and hats off to them, hats off to the administrators, to those who are ensuring that daily, incrementally, that they only get better. There are times when you hear complaints and your people can speak in very bad and ill ways about the service that they receive. And when you hear that, you know that there's room. And there will always be room for improvement. Doesn't matter how high on the scorecard we may get a mark. We always have to tell ourselves in whatever we do that we can improve on our professionalism, we can improve on our delivery, we can improve on our approach, our sensitivity to people's cause, and, but it's good when you can hear it feels much better, and that people can call, actually speak publicly and say hats off to those who do it, whether it is the police officers, the medical staff, the ambulance drivers, we really think. And I just want to sound out again another word of caution to the drivers, the people who are, on our roads constantly, in particular the minibus operators, the drivers of those buses. We know sometimes you're in a little haste. We understand that sometimes another bus is behind you. You want to get as far a distance away from them. But we really have to drive with due care and attention and be very cautious. I'm not here trying to level blame. I don't know what happened. I wasn't there. I don't know. Like we say, in the accident, he's wrong or she's wrong. An accident, we all are wrong because, especially when we lose lives. It is not what we want. It is not what we want to see. It becomes very unfortunate. There's a lot of wailing and moaning and crying. But let us learn from those and let us try, those of us who are still here, and continue ply the routes and to drive and be on the road, to try to ensure that safety is always the first order of the day for us. Safety for ourselves, safety for the passengers that we're carrying, safety for the users of the roads we are applying, safety for the other person oncoming or behind us or wherever. Let safety be our watchword so we can take the necessary precautions not to have that kind of fatalities coming out of road accidents. Just my 2 pence. And saying that, I also, we learned over the weekend of unfortunate situation happening in Gov with
a young man getting stabbed
to death. And then I think last night on the news it was mentioned that and a young guy, again, not too old, somewhere in the Grenada area, was found in his living quarters there, apparently for a couple of days because the body was already sentient. This, when you hear those news, it brings us kind of soft. But we are already struggling as a people, very, very pressured, and in some instances, people are a little frustrated with the whole lockdown, with the COVID, with the fact that we do not know how soon it will end, how soon we may be able to revert to some sense of normalcy similar to that which existed before COVID stepped in. And then all of these unfortunate acts happening around us in communities that we know, and with people or two people that we are acquainted with that we know, it brings even greater sadness. And so, and I really do hope that we would recognize that each one needs the other, especially in times like this when there are broken hearts and crying eyes, sad faces. We need to dig deep into us and find whatever resolve we have to stay strong, but also to help support those who are weak.
Yeah. Well, Mr. Bola, I really don't know what to say. I know you brought tears to my eyes.
Well, that wasn't my intention.
But more so because the young man in yesterday's accident, I know him well.
Oh,
so it really is it's a shock, it's a touching moment, but it's also a teachable moment because it goes to show that life is so unpredictable. You just never know if you're going to wake up. You don't know if you're going to make it through the day. You don't know if you're going to make it to see the following day. It's just so unpredictable, and it always hits home when you lose someone that you just never really expected to lose, in the prime of their life, things going well, and then this happens and you question, well, really, what is life? What have I done in my life that is so remarkable that if I die today, somebody can look back at and say, I know Duncan. Duncan was a nice person. Or me, she didn't know nice to nobody. Nobody ain't gonna miss her. And it makes you think. It makes you wonder, like, what really am I doing with my life? It's unpredictable. I don't know when I'm going to or how long I'm going to live for. So with the time that I have and the time that I am afforded, am I making the best out of it? And then we must also consider, what is the best? What do I consider making the best out of the life that I have? But it's a really sad situation, Mr. Bola, because these people were minding their business on their way home and just really never expected something like this to happen. From what I understand, it was an incident where the truck driver lost the brakes on the vehicle. The bus was in a compromising position with nowhere else to go. So he just had to accept
the blow.
The blow.
From sad
Very sad.
Very sad. But as you have correctly injected there, it's a teachable moment. Whatever activities that happen in life, joyful or sad, must become a teachable moment for us all. We're not happy when sad things like that happen, but we must look at it objectively and see what lessons can we learn from it. And I hope that is what it would be for all of us.
Absolutely. We have a call on the line. Good morning.
Good morning, my sister Duncan. Good morning to the beautiful lady.
Good morning, Miss Jacob. How are you?
I'm fine. And good morning to the handsome Bella.
Good morning, my dear. How are you doing today?
Well, I'm fine.
God bless your soul.
Yes, what you bring, you bring that again back with tears in my eyes. Because
Sorry
the
that I had
lady
to.
in Las Angeles is a good partner, good friend. I'm telling you, wonderful friend of the new National Party. Lad, and her mother died last year. Her mother died last year. And look, she dead. And she had two beautiful girls. One is 19 years and the other one 15. Oh, who goes see about them?
Still young, eh? Still teenagers.
Yes. She young thing. And then again, and the garbage truck. Those boys on the truck, I tell you, them is wonderful young men. But you see, I'm calling on those solid waste workers, the truck drive, the truck owners that own the vehicle when they sending them out. Check the brakes and see what happening. You see, the truck didn't have no way, he couldn't get brakes. He just had us to end up on the bus. That ain't easy. And this morning, right in my prayers, when I'm praying tonight, you have a young a lady this morning. She says she have a grandson that have 19 years, and he day in intensive care. And that was only she. I don't know if she have more grandson or if that is the biggest one. She really cried this morning and shag it over. He feel me. Ah, boy.
Well, Ms. Jacob, we can only pray and ask for healing for those who are still lying in the hospital beds.
Yeah.
You know, God works in mysterious ways.
That's right.
He has reasons that sometimes we as human doesn't understand why he allows certain things to happen. And as we say, it must teach us all a lesson and we must learn from it. We have to try to avoid those things as much as we possibly can. But the master knows why he lets things happen. If it was his will, he could have had the bus move out of the area or not get to that area in time for the truck to run into it. There are some things that are just almost mysterious that we would never be able to explain, you know, as human beings. But I say to you, your friends are involved, people who you know, let's just pray that the souls who are in one with God and those who are still around, that they will be healed and Grenada as a whole will be a better place even when these issues turn up. We'll take care of it.
We need to pray.
Yes.
Brother Boland, Sister Duncan, we need a lot of praise.
Great.
How to pray.
So continue to pray for us and pray for them and pray for the nation.
You see, I go to pray. I praying from 1 o'clock in the morning until about 2, 3 o'clock.
Well,
praying for everybody.
God bless you.
Yes, I will. I does.
Yes.
So you and Sister Duncan and my beautiful, handsome brother Bola.
Yes, my dear.
Have a blessed day, and God bless you all. And I like the program this morning.
We wish you the same, Miss Duncan.
Okay,
Miss
Jacob.
Miss Jacob. Miss Jacob.
Right.
Take care of yourself. Sorry, just a slip of the tongue.
It's okay. Mr. Bola, before you came back, we were discussing, or not really discussing, but I was reading a forecast concerning a system that was outside of us, that is showing more organization from, well, whatever day it was. It's a perfect opportunity now, because time is going, for us to appeal to people, because this forecast actually spreads from Trinidad all the way to, it includes Trinidad, Grenada, St. Vincent and the Grenadines, and St. Lucia. Should all monitor it. I know we have a tendency of saying, well, they're always saying things coming and never reach, which is a good thing, by the way. It's a good thing.
A good thing that it's not reaching.
That it's not reaching us.
But it's not a good thing to just say it and become lackadaisical about the issue.
Right. It's a good thing that it's not coming here. I mean, some people say, well, NADMA say and the Met Office say we'll get rain and no rain in fall, or we'll get a tropical wave and nothing. And that's not all bad. It means that something is going right, that we're not getting these systems. As much as we need the water, we don't need an excessive amount of rain, right? So it's something to watch. It's something for us to be cautious about. Remember, during Ivan, we were very skeptical as well before Ivan hit. And it came and it met a lot of us unprepared. Almost the whole island was unprepared for Ivan. So take a look, because when Oslin was here, Oslin Crosby, 2-3 weeks ago, she made mention of something that is very significant, that our waters are very warm, which means that it is the ripest condition for the formation of any tropical system, whether it's a hurricane, a tropical storm, or even a depression. So we have to take that into consideration. So I'm asking the general public to please follow the weather reports, and keep that in mind. Now, also, there is the Intertropical Convergence Zone, ITCZ, that you have to take into consideration. So remember, we're getting rainfall on top of rainfall, right? So, or at least we know we're going to get some rain from the ITCZ. We're not sure what the system is going to bring, or even if it's going to pass above us or below us, or it's going to dissipate before it gets close to us, whatever it is. Please pay attention and prepare. If you have shutters that you need to batten down, if you have areas that is prone to flooding and you need to do some work there, if you have animals that you need to ensure that you make preparations for, right? At least have a plan in place. So if tomorrow or the following day we get a notification that says prepare for impact, that that you are well prepared and that your family is well prepared.
Good. And encourage your neighbors and your good friends and other relatives to prepare.
Yeah.
Because sometimes we just take it for granted. It won't happen. It won't come. They said so the last time and nothing happened. Mm-hmm. But we don't know what would happen this time. So a bit of preparation is never going to hurt us. In fact, it would aid us if at all this time it comes and we are prepared.
Yeah.
Have some little food stuff, put away all important documents and so into Ziploc bags or into plastic bags that they can stay waterproof. Yeah, you have a flashlight handy and ready, new batteries. And you don't need to just go to the stores, wait for last minute to clear the shelves.
Yeah.
Incrementally, gradually, month after month or week after week.
You're preparing.
As you shop. You're preparing. The harder items first. And then, last moment you can probably run to get some creeks and, a couple of bottles of water. And so, but it makes good sense just having some things in place. Mm-hmm. Even if you do not fulfill the entire list of items that has been given, but at least some of it, you have it, or a small quantity of all of it, you have it, so you can go on for a few days.
I think they said it's 5 days. You should at least have 5 days worth of at least, and I want to stress on the word least, because some people don't hear the word least, they just hear 5 days.
Right, and they say, well, Miss Duncan say 5 days.
Yeah.
And then when the 6th and 7th day come and they start getting hungry, they say, you see, she ain't give me good advice.
So at least 5 days. Ensure that you have water stored in clean, covered containers. And that's not just for the hurricane season, but for the dry season too. You ensure that you have water in clean, covered containers. Ensure that your business and your life, your house and so on, your personal items are protected. So you know you have an area that floods, you get your sandbags, and you have them ready so that there isn't that rush and that bustle and that so on. Because even though we have whatever, a storm or anything that may come our way, we still can't congregate because we are corona. Eh? So you have to take all of that into consideration. So be mindful of that. Keep track on what's happening with this weather system. I see that some more information is coming out here. Of course, this is a report that came from Trinidad and Tobago. So they are actually advising people already of a possible formation and so on. So we also have to, because Trinidad is a stone throw away. Yep. All it takes is a little swing and we might be in harm's way as well. So please be mindful of that. Mr. Bola, we are running... Well, I think we've run out of time. Do you have any closing words that you'd like to? Well,
just as per usual, to say to our listeners that we still appreciate the fact that we have an audience to listen to us, that what we do here at HARDTALK is attempt to bring information that is relevant and very truthful. And I want to remind them that we can't drop our guards now. We have won some battles with COVID, but the war is not yet over. There's still need for us to continue to practice safe distancing, mask wearing, hand washing, sanitizing, all of the things that we have been asked to do before. We need to continue with that until COVID has disappeared, or until a vaccine or something, some kind of medication is on the market that we can use to help protect ourselves. We hope that you will continue to enjoy the rest of today, and as a result, your day would be productive. As we've said today, let positivity be the watchword. So at the end of the day, you can look back and see whatever achievements you have made. It was great being here with you. Hope that we'll be able to bring you some more information tomorrow. God's willing. Take care and be careful.
All right, guys. And as we say here, in whatever you say and whatever you do, be safe and be secure. We always want to be talking with you and never about you. Please stay tuned for the national report and enjoy the remainder of your day.
Minister for Health says stricter regulations could be imposed if contact tracing points to community spread of COVID-19. We'll have details to this story and more in the national report. Welcome back with the details to the news for Monday, July 20th, 2020. I am Rakisha St. Louis. Grenada's Health Minister, Honorable Nicholas Steele, says if evidence from contact tracing points to community spread of COVID-19, the ministry will advise the relevant authorities to impose stricter regulations. He was speaking against the backdrop that 3 Trinidadian nationals who resided in Grenada from March until Thursday, July 16th, tested positive for COVID-19 upon arrival in Trinidad. The 3 individuals, all males, reported to the Trinidad Authority that they showed no signs of having the virus. Minister Steele told the Government Information Service once it can be proven that the virus has been spread, there will be changes to the existing regulations.
If we see evidence of community spread, we need to see the evidence first of community spread or possible community spread before we would adjust any regulations. If we do not see evidence of community spread and that this is a case of individuals having the virus way before and it is a case of shedding, then we may not adjust. But there are also other occurrences and other things at play. The events of the last weekend are regrettable, but also cause a contemplation of the various measures, as I'm sure many Grenadians have been reaching out to us and are not happy with what they've seen happening in Bathway and are asking for us to take necessary steps. We believe in our people, I believe in our people, and we believe that with education and informing them, or re-education and re-informing them of the risks again, will allow them to act accordingly.
Minister Steele is confident that the isolation ward at the General Hospital is prepared to accommodate any case or cases of the virus if the need arises.
The isolation wards and the teams have been on rest, so to speak, and back to normal life. The isolation ward has been strengthened further since we last used it, and it is ready to be activated at a moment's notice. I still hope, by the grace of God, that we will not need to use that facility right now or at all in the future, but it is there, it has to be there, it needs to be there, and if necessary, it will be activated as we move forward.
The 70-unit Chinese low-income housing project under construction at the Villa in St. Patrick is nearing completion. Parliamentary Representative for St. Patrick West, Honorable Anthony Boson, says the units are expected to be officially handed over in October of 2020.
I am satisfied, given the fact that we had almost 3 months delay with the COVID problem. I think they're doing pretty well. And if you're targeting October, this will be the first of the 5 projects to be made available for occupancy, right? Because, you know, we have in St. David, Carriacou, St. Mark, and also in Beausejour. So this will be, I think, the first to complete. And I think so far we are pleased with the progress being made. And when you look at the size of the units, you realize that they're much bigger than the traditional ones that we, before. And that was something that we negotiated with the people of China, the government and people of China, that they give us more space. So these units are much bigger than those that you will find in Monge.
He says the Housing Authority and the Ministry of Housing will determine the criteria for which one will qualify for the units.
As of now, there are people who are expressing interest, yes. All we do now, we take the names, yeah. Because I believe that the Ministry of Housing will have certain procedures that have to be followed in terms of how units are given out. So we will wait on that. But as of now, all we do is just take names. Yeah. But based on the fact that there are housing units being built in almost all of the parishes, the people of St. Patrick, both East and West, will have preference. The Ministry of Housing and the government itself will determine the procedures, who will get a what rate, things like that. These are yet to be worked out. So I think the Cabinet has not yet done that.
The low-income housing project is one of 4 presently under construction. The others are located in Corinth, St. David, Beausejour, St. George, on the sister isle of Carriacou, and in St. Mark. Continuing with the news, the Ministry of Culture and the Cultural Fraternity are mourning the loss of a cultural stalwart, David Peck Edwards, who passed away over the weekend. Edwards served the government of Grenada as a cultural officer for many years. Even after his retirement from the public service in 2019, he was still involved in the ministry's activities. Desiree Stevens, Permanent Secretary with responsibility for sports, culture and the arts in the Ministry of Culture, remembers Edwards as a dedicated man who gave commendable service during his years.
Mr. Edwards was also one of our cultural ambassadors for his contribution he would have made to PAN. The Division of Culture is a very small division, very close-knit family, and Mr. Edwards' passing has deeply touched every member of staff within the division. Although he would have retired last year, he always remembered a part of the division's family. Any activity that we had prior to his sickness, he was involved if called upon to do so. We also kept him close and included him in our Christmas outreach activity. We visited him, brought some Christmas cheer to him. And also 2 Fridays ago, 10th of July, we would have celebrated his 61st birthday with him. So he has always remained a very close part of the division, a member of our culture family, our ministry by extension family.
The Grenada Cultural Foundation wrote in a release, and I quote, "Peck, as he was affectionately called, left no stone unturned in defending the Pan movement in Grenada, and was indeed a force to be reckoned with as a producer, composer of music. His contribution to the teaching of Pan music to numerous young persons and old alike will always be an outstanding hallmark in his illustrious career," unquote. Permanent Secretary Stevens supported the statement made by the Grenada Cultural Foundation.
Mr. Edwards would have contributed immensely to culture in Grenada through the steel pan movement, from his engagement with the various schools, the different bands. He would have served that dimension, Pan Wizard, and also Rainbow City All-Stars. And just late last year, the Steel Pan Association would have honored him. And I'm so happy that they were able to, and we were part of it, as we say, give him his flowers before he passed. And it was a great initiative by the Grenada Steel Pan Association. And I know too, they are deeply saddened by his passing. We would have had an outpouring of condolence messages from various sectors, various persons whom Mr. Edwards would have touched.
The Government Information Service expresses deepest condolences to the family of the late David Peck Edwards. This is the National Report. The news continues after the break.
Protect yourself and our community from COVID-19. Wash your hands frequently with soap and water for at least 20 seconds. If soap and water are not available, use an alcohol-based hand sanitizer with at least 70% alcohol. Use a tissue when blowing your nose, sneezing, or coughing. Immediately discard the tissue properly and wash or sanitize your hands. Avoid close contact with people who are sick. Let's do our part to ensure that each and every Grenadian remains healthy. To stay up to date, visit the Government of Grenada's webpage or the Ministry of Health's Facebook page. For more information, contact the Ministry of Health's hotline by calling 53-VIRUS. This has been a public service announcement brought to you by the Ministry of Health.
Welcome back. Work has begun at Progress Park in St. Andrew for the installation of 2 cricket nets, an initiative by the 4 parliamentary representatives for St. Andrew, Honourable Emmeline Pear, Honourable Kate Lewis, Honourable Delma Thomas, and Honourable Yolan Bean Hosford. We get more in this report from Carlin Peters.
The 4 sisters, as they have branded themselves, decided after the 2018 general elections that there will be some parish projects that they will combine their efforts to ensure happens. Honourable Emmeline Pear spoke on the behalf of the MPs.
We met with the St. Andrews Cricket Association, and in discussion with them, we discussed this initiative and how important it is for St. Andrew and the development of cricket. I don't think anybody would be biased to not say that St. Andrew produces most of our top cricketers, right? And St. Andrew has really been shining, not just in the area of cricket, and I don't want to come across in any biased way, but the facts is there to see that we have been doing very well. Over the recent times, we are not very happy that we have been doing enough. And I believe the St. Andrews Council recognized that there's a lot more to be done. And that is why we have decided to give our full support. And this initiative is part of our support.
St. Andrews, Minister Emmeline Pear says, has produced a number of great cricketers who have served parish, country, and region well. And some persons were displeased with the amount of assistance given to further the development of the sports there.
This is one, and this is one of our dedication to sports in St. Andrew. We believe that with the energy from Mr. Cummins and others and the council in St. Andrew, we are going to see a development in the area of cricket. You know, this facility would be a plus, and we are really happy that we have gotten to this point. We have committed some of our constituency funds to this, and we are extremely happy to see it going.
Senior cricket coach in the Ministry of Sports, Ashley Cummins, filled with emotions, said that the project is of significant importance for future development of cricket in St. Andrew.
This is a very important project for St. Andrews. Very, very important. If we can go back and call all the days of the Kingston Forrester and the Evelyn Frederick and the Hob King and all those guys. It's a real history of the cricket in St. Andrews, and even before that. And, you know, all these moons had passed, and we have never had a net here, but we keep producing cricketers at the national, Windward, and the West Indies level. And here we have a net for the next generation. I'm very, very much happy to see that it has started, and I know it will finish. That we're going to have a net here in progress back. This net is going to serve not just St. Andrews, but it's going to serve St. Patrick's. It's going to also serve St. Mark's.
There will be two types of nets, a turf of 66 feet and a concrete of 40 feet. The only difference between these cricket nets and those at the National Cricket Stadium is the type of netting that will be used. The nets are projected to be completed by October 2020, after which they can be integrated into the programs of the Grenada Cricket Association. Cummins believes that the football and athletics coaches that utilize Progress Park will also be happy, as at times it can be very inconvenient for all three disciplines to function at the park at the same time. For the National Report, I am Carlene Peters.
That story just ended the National Report for today, Monday, July 20th. Recapping the top story. Minister for Health says stricter regulations could be imposed if contact tracing points to community spread of COVID-19. On behalf of the entire news team here at the Government Information Service, I am Rakisha St. Louis saying thank you for joining us. Until next time.
Stay up to date with all that's happening with the new national party, NNP. Send us a message via text or WhatsApp on 405-8683 with your name, email, and constituency. Stay in the know with NNP. Get updated.